After father and mother died in the war, I never talked back to my brother. Today was the first time. He slapped me across the face in anger and gritted his teeth. Catherine Tang, this is not something you can object to. If you don't marry, then get out of the house and never come back. I left General's manor as he wished, and he turned his head to welcome back his scheming adopted daughter into the house. It doesn't matter. I didn't want to fight her long ago. Nor do I have the life to fight her anymore. Alexander Gu slapped me in the face when the phoenix pendant that father and mother had given my brother and me, one each, also fell to the ground and shattered. I looked indifferently at the jade pendant that shattered into 2 pieces, and spoke in a faint voice. Since my brother said so, then I will fulfill your wish, and will not take a step into General's manor from now on. You and I, we are also no longer brother and sister. Alexander Gus's face stiffened and he looked at me incredulously. What did you say? I picked up the jade pendant on the ground and tried to put the 2 together. No matter how it was put together, there was always a gaping hole in the center. The crumbs of jade fell somewhere. I knew in my heart that even if I found that piece of jade dregs, it would be impossible to restore it as before. Just like my brother and I. I lowered my eyes and whispered, I know that my brother has been holding a grudge over the matter of taking me back to the mansion, thinking that I have taken Emily Ann's position, in order to prevent you, brother, from continuing to see this loathsome face of mine. We no longer have half a relationship. As if this jade sever all ties. I handed him half of the jade. After a deathly silence, Alexander Gu viciously slammed the jade down hard on the ground. Half of the force that grabbed the jade landed on my hand. My wrist instantly turned red, and my eyes went black. I clenched my palm tightly, letting my nails set into my hand, so that I didn't fall down. Alexander Gus's irritated voice rang in my ears. Catherine Tang, good, very good. Don't you regret it? At that time, even if you beg me, I will never let you take half a step into General's manor. As the light gradually returned to my eyes, I raised my eyes, looked straight into Alexander Gus's eyes, and flashed him a smile. Perhaps you'll beg me to return to the mansion. That's not too far-fetched, right? Unsurprisingly, Alexander Gus's face completely blackened, and the last of his tolerance for me disappeared from the bottom of his eyes. He squeezed out 3 words from between his teeth. No way. I went back to the yard to pack my bags. Opened the closet and pulled out the lowest buried package. It was everything I had on me when father and mother first picked me up and brought me back to the house. Come penniless, leave clean. When I was ready to leave, I reluctantly opened the box on my bedside, which contained a variety of objects. All of them were gifts given to me by father and mother and Alexander Gu during my years in the Gu residence. My eyes fell on the jade flute at the top. It was given to me by my father when I won a prize at the Spring Festival in March when I first joined the Gu family. I was 11 years old at the time, and when all the noble women in the capital were in arts and literature, I was the only one who took a written test of archery with the men, and even won 2 arrows. I still remember how father and mother and Alexander Gu laughed when they saw me win the prize. Father said that I was worthy of being his daughter, and that I was a great general. Even Alexander Gu said with a haughty look on his face, so you're not so useless. You're the daughter of our Gu family. But soon this appreciation, accompanied by Emily Ann's sobs, disappeared. She accidentally sprained her foot while dancing, and the whole family went to care for her. When I returned to the house, father gave me the jade flute and instructed me to stop shooting arrows in the future, and that girls should focus on arts and literacy. I didn't understand why father suddenly changed his mind, but I was still happy to accept it. Because that was the first gift that father gave me. Once I left, I would probably never come back. After struggling internally for a few moments, I still put some important things into the bundle. I walked through the front room with my bag on my back. Alexander Gu didn't look at me and didn't say a word with his head turned away. I closed my eyes and suppressed a shaky voice. Leaving. Wait. My foot had just taken a step when Alexander Gu's cold voice sounded behind me. It's okay to leave. Since you said you're going to sever all ties with me, you can't take away anything from General's manor. My pupils flinched. How dare he not even want to give me one last thought? My throat ached with astringency. But calmly I placed the bag on the table. I gently took out the things inside, one by one. There were no more than 4 objects left and right, 2 of which were the coral bracelet with fox embroidery and a slingshot that Alexander Gu had given me. Is it okay now? Alexander Gu looked at the objects I pulled out with an uncertain expression, the knot in his throat rolling. There was a long moment of silence before he raised his hand again and pointed to the clothes on my body and spoke. Take off your clothes. I knew that he was forcing me to bow my head and apologize. The previous 6 years had come and gone. Unfortunately, he didn't realize that I knew him far better than he thought. When I said he would beg me, he would surely kick me out of the mansion. That's why this outfit was prepared by me a long time ago. It wasn't bought with General's Manor's money. I went hunting in the mountains and bought it with the money I got from selling my prey. With that, I picked up my bag and turned to leave. As I walked to the door, the person behind me seemed to have finally reached the end of his patience. The cup slammed heavily on the ground, and then there was Alexander Gu's roar. Get out and don't expect to come back. I knew that this was the last room he gave me to turn back. The steps under my feet lurched, but finally did not turn back. Only when I stepped out of General's Manor did it start to rain. The subordinates in the mansion kindly held an umbrella for me. The next moment, something flew in front of my eyes and landed in the mud that had been watered by the rain. I took a closer look. It was the slingshot. After the spring festival, I never picked up a bow and arrow again. I learned the rules of the noble lady. Want to break the bad habits of the mountains and fields. Alexander Gu gave me the slingshot. Said that I could secretly expose my nature. But later, what did he say? Alexander Gu embraced Emilian. Eyes viciously accused me. Really is a mountain hunter raised. You are just like your adoptive father. Will mutilate people's lives. I closed my eyes, not wanting to think about it anymore. I heard Alexander Gu's grumpy voice. I don't want to see anything about her in the mansion. Throw away everything she used. Burn it. I pulled a bitter smile. I already knew that my brother was disgusted with me, but I still couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Alexander Gu's father and mother had set up a small compound for me outside of the suburbs of the capital and kicked me out of General's Manor when Anya said that I had hurt her again. They were chilled to the core of my being and thought that I was too wicked to have an adopted daughter. Wicked and couldn't stand their adopted daughter. I lived there for over a year. The poorest and freest I have ever been in my life. It was the only place where I could land nowadays. I didn't take the houseboy's umbrella, which belonged to General's Manor. Walked the 20 miles or so in the rain to the small courtyard. Saw Steward was standing there waiting. Like he was waiting for someone. I was drenched to the skin, clutching the bag in my hand. My body couldn't stop shivering, and when I opened my mouth, my throat hurt as if I had swallowed a million razor blades. Steward Wu, this is the mansion that father and mother bought me. Steward Wu's eyes flashed with a hint of heartache, and he sighed. Miss, young general said that this mansion was purchased by Madam and Master during her lifetime, and it is also the General's Manor's property, and that you don't deserve to live here. My hand that was squeezing the bag froze. I couldn't believe it and stared straight at Steward Wu. He was a little frightened by my stare. Miss, don't make it difficult for the old slave. I opened my mouth and closed it again. Alexander Gu always does not stop until I am driven to my death. The cold wind wrapped in rain raged over me, blowing me around. Somehow, my vision started to blacken again. Even Steward Wu's face in front of me was a little hard to see. I nodded my head and turned to leave. Steward Wu saw my appearance and chased after me in his heart. "Miss, you helped the old slave in the past. This is a little token of my appreciation. Take it." I bit my lips tightly, wanting to shake my head and refuse, but I was well aware of my current situation. After a long silence, I accepted it after all. "Steward Wu, this is what I borrowed. I will find a way to pay you back." Steward Wu wiped the corners of his eyes with his sleeve. "Miss, no need. This is originally what I owe you. You leave the capital to find a place to live well. Live a good life." The corner of my mouth pulled out a bitter smile. Where else would I have a chance to live a good life? Just want to come to this mansion and wait for death. Alexander Gu doesn't even give me a chance. I took the silver and muddle-headedly found an inn to rest. I do not know how long I slept. I only know that when I opened my eyes, the sky was slightly bright. My body seemed to be racked on the stove to bake in general. The pain was unbearable, and my throat was like being cut off with a knife. I wanted to get up and drink water, but I didn't have a single ounce of strength, and just by lifting my head, my clothes were soaked with sweat, and my nose was a stream of hot water coming out of my mouth. I began to panic. "Do not want to die like this." With all my strength, barely shouted a small two, and fainted. When I woke up, I was already in a completely unfamiliar place. I looked around and realized that the package I was carrying was still there, but the silver inside had disappeared. "You're awake." I looked at the man in front of me, my eyes having a moment of shock. How could it be Liam Xia? A man who had been at odds with me at every turn since I entered General's Manor, yet still had a marriage contract with me. "Catherine Tang, you snatched away in Yao's life and you're still living like this. Pathetic." He seemed to be a bit angry. His brows kept frowning. I thought he would be sore. After all, it was Emmeline who had been betrothed to him all along, and it wasn't until I came back that the betrothed person became me. Not wanting to be in an argument, I said in a hoarse voice, "Now that I've gotten my comeuppance, you should all be satisfied. Although I don't know why you are here, but with my improved health, you should be the one who saved me. Thank you. But I should go." The moment I got up, Liam Xia planted me heavily, my back knocking against the bed and making me huff in pain. Liam Xia hadn't expected me to be so weak and loosened his grip slightly. "You were thrown away by Alexander Gu. Where could you go?" Yeah, I had nowhere to go. But I knew Xia Mansion would never be my place. There will always be a place for me in the sky, so I won't bother Xia Mansion with my concern. Liam Xia clenched his fists so tightly that his fingertips were white from overexertion, and an aura of sadness and anger emanated from him. He fiercely grabbed my shoulders and roared out, "Catherine Tang, do you know you're dying?" How could I not know? A month or so ago, I suddenly started to have nosebleeds from time to time, and when I went to the doctor, I realized that I was sick in my lungs and would not live long. The doctor told me that I had at most 5 months to live. He told me to go back and talk to my family about my future. I didn't want Alexander Gu to know that father and mother had died. If I died too, he would be alone in the world. I'd rather he hate me for the rest of his life than know I'm dying. Maybe it's just my wish that he won't be alone with Emmeline by his side. Liam Xia's pupils narrowed as he looked at my expression that didn't fluctuate with any emotion, and he stumbled back a step. "You knew this already. You didn't want to marry me because of this." I subconsciously wanted to find a random excuse to put it off. But as the words came out, I suddenly didn't want to cover it up. Over the years, I've forced myself to admit too many unfounded faults, and I'm already tired of it. Not really. What you like has always been in Yao. I don't want to be the villain that breaks up your relationship. Liam Xia snorted out a laugh as if he heard some joke. "Are you saying that a person's words are good even if he's going to die?" I lowered my eyes and suppressed the pain that overflowed into words. I really made a fool of myself, knowing that no matter what I said, they wouldn't believe me. Still, I couldn't help but want to defend myself a little. Little Sir Xia, I've already said everything I need to answer. Can you let me go now? Liam Xia put away his smile and spoke in a cold tone. No. You say on your lips that you don't want to destroy my relationship with Anyao. Who knows if you'll do something bad to her again after you leave. You must stay in front of my eyes before you die. I slowly looked at Liam Xia with my sideways eyes, suddenly feeling unable to see through him. It's obvious that no one will disturb his marriage to Anyao as long as I get the hell away from Emilian. He had to tie me to his side. Since Liam Xia is willing to collect my body, it's better than dying on the street and scaring people. In fact, I know I have my own feelings. I adore Liam Xia. And in the last days of the deadline, I greedily want to be closer to him. Liam Xia seemed relieved to see that I didn't object. Does Alexander Gu know about this? Without waiting for me to answer, he continued. He shouldn't know, otherwise even if his heart was made of stone, he wouldn't have thrown you in the sewage ditch with only a breath of air and covered in blood. So I was thrown in the sewage ditch. It's really hard for Liam Xia, who's a clean freak, to talk to me for so long. Why don't you tell him? I gave him a light smile. Don't look at Alexander Gu treating me like this. When I die, he'll be crying his eyes out at my grave. After that, there was a long period of general dead silence. This is really outrageous. Alexander Gu can't wait for me to die. How can he cry for me? No wonder Liam Xia didn't believe it. Since young Sir Xia is going to lock me up in the mansion, he won't not give me a single bite of food. Right. I haven't eaten much since yesterday. Liam Xia ordered his subordinates to prepare a light meal for me and arranged for a few people to wait on me. During the preparation, I fell into a deep sleep. The past few years back at General's Manor kept popping into my head. The good, the bad, slowly turning into aggravation and powerlessness. The image gradually settled on my first return to General's Manor. I was raised by the mountain hunter. That year Mrs. Gu was pregnant to Tranquil Temple to pray for General Gust's triumphant return, but encountered the bandits, was rushed to the fetal gas led to a miscarriage, had no choice but to give birth to a child from the abandoned temple. Did not think that the day also a downtrodden peasant woman was also in labor. The thieves carried away the 2 newborn children, and when Mrs. Gu retrieved them, we had already been switched. Emilian was taken as me and brought back to General's Manor, while I was saved by my adoptive father. I was rescued by my adoptive father and have been living in the mountains for the past 11 years, carefree and free from constraints. When I first met father and mother, it was the day my foster father was beheaded. They said my foster father had killed a man, and the evidence was overwhelming. So he had to pay with his life. I watched my foster father's head fall to the ground. The man who ordered the beheading was my biological father. I rushed out of the crowd, cried and hugged my foster father's headless body, crying out for injustice. Perhaps it was the resonance of my bloodline. Just one look at my father and he thought I was his real daughter. He took me back to General's Manor and told me a lot of plausible arguments. Made me accept that my adoptive father was a murderer and that murder needs to be paid for. I was told to accept that they were my real father and mother. And I made a scene in the mansion, smashed things to pieces, didn't eat or drink, ran away when I found the chance, and went back to my foster father's place in the suburbs of the capital. I braved the rain and forced them to let me go by dying. Their hearts softened, and I also made myself sick. Mother stayed with me for 7 days and 7 nights without closing her eyes. At that time, my father told me that if I died, my mother would leave with me. I had never felt a mother's love before, and it was like suddenly getting honey and falling into it. While living at General's Manor, I gradually revealed my true nature. climbing up trees to dig out birds' nests, flying to the roof to watch the sunrise, and beating the bruised face out of Xia Xiaogong. The polar opposite of Emily and of the noble lady. The trouble was too much for everyone to handle. Emily probably thought that a person who often got into trouble would not threaten her, and we got along quite harmoniously. After all, since I entered the house, she has been treated as usual, and father and mother are afraid that she will think too much about it. But they also care about her more. Even Liam Xie repeatedly emphasized to me that he preferred the quiet and dignified in Yao. Until the spring festival when I came into my own. Everything has changed. That time Emily asked me to go to the lake, cried with pear blossoms and knelt in front of me and begged me not to drive her away. I was at a loss for words and tried to help her up. Instead, she grabbed me and fell into the lake. The lake flooded me, and I instinctively pressed Emily to save myself, but Alexander Gu and Liam Xie found us. And Alexander Gu saved me first. Alexander Gu saved me first. At that moment, I was overcome with anger, and even though my body was already weak, I slapped Emily in the face with all my strength. That slap didn't make me angry. It also made me sit on the charge. Sister Tong Tong, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have hogged your identity. I should have been drowned. Don't worry. I won't get in your way. Emily pushed Liam Xie away and jumped into the lake once again. Her words and determination to die confirmed my wickedness. And father and mother were so angry that they sentenced me to kneel in the ancestral hall. It was then that I realized that Alexander Gu, who was also a poor swimmer, had fallen ill in order to save me. Alexander Gu, who had always been indifferent to me, dragged his sick body to say good words for me. My sister has been living alone out there for 11 years, and she doesn't have everything that Yao enjoys. She may be jealous of Yao, but when you think about it, maybe it's because we've neglected her that she's done something like this. Father and mother didn't punish me anymore. They only told me to go apologize to Emily. I was stubborn and never knew the hook and loop trick of backing down. I preferred to kneel in the ancestral hall rather than accept Alexander Gu's kind words on my behalf. I just felt that they didn't trust me, and the night in the ancestral hall was so cold that Alexander Gu came to see me in spite of his illness. Alexander Gu came to see me despite his own illness, and he was heartbroken when he saw that I was freezing my face off. Why are you so stubborn? Even if you don't apologize, don't really kneel here. Your knees are all bruised. I stole this from the kitchen. Eat it. The next day, Alexander Gu was too sick to get up. He grinned at me. His eyes were full of comfort. Don't worry, brother is fine. I looked at his silly look and bowed my head to Emily and apologized. Later, Emily was drugged and lost her voice, and it was found out that I did it. Emily rolled down the stairs. And it was found out that I did it. Emily nearly lost her innocence. And it was found out that I did it too. I became a jealous sister to Emily. Father and mother never smiled at me again. And Alexander Gu looked at me with cold eyes. After Yao had another emotional breakdown, father and mother placed me in a mansion outside. I lived alone in the mansion until the news of father and mother's death came. I was taken back to General's Manor by Alexander Gu. Only this time, after I came back, I realized that Emily had been kicked out of General's Manor for some reason. The person who was betrothed to Liam Xie also became me. Now, I've stolen everything from Emily. But no one asked me if I wanted it all. I lay in bed and slept for a long time. By the time I woke up, it was already third night outside. My face was moist, and I casually touched it. Crimson, crusted blood reflected in my palm. Panic swept over me. I got out of bed to wash my face to stop the bleeding, but I fell on the floor and knocked something over. The crackling noise alerted the Xie mansion servants. When they saw me covered in blood, They panicked and rushed to ask the manor physician to treat me. The manor physician gave me medication for blood clotting. He also instructed me, Ms. Gu, your body is too deficient. And you can't evacuate the depression in your heart. If you want to live for a longer period of time, put down the unfinished business of your heart. During this time, whatever makes you happy you do. Never get angry and depressed again. Otherwise, it's divine intervention that will hardly be able to save you, and it's best not to leave anyone around for a few days. I nodded, and when manor physician left, I suddenly noticed a familiar figure at the door. The next day, I was already in much better spirits. Sitting in front of the bronze mirror, I took a closer look, only to realize that my eyes were dark and blue underneath, and I was so thin that I was somewhat out of shape. Once upon a time, I always felt that I grew strong, not as Emily in a Jiangnan soft elegance. Now that I'm sick, I can really compare myself to her. Thinking that there are no days, the last days, I want to indulge a little. These 2 days happen to be the days of the capital city open market. It's almost spring, the whole street is full of joy. I didn't have any silver on me and wandered aimlessly, not walking a few steps. I was panting and couldn't breathe. I stopped at the lake and sat down against a tree, admiring the passing pedestrians. Suddenly, 2 familiar figures suddenly appeared in my line of sight. It was Emilian and Alexander Gu. My eyes focused on Emilian holding Alexander Gu's hand. She pointed to the candy man with a delicate voice. Brother, I like this one. Alexander Gu smiled and pinched her face. How old are you? You still eat these? Aren't you afraid of your teeth? I just want to eat it. Emilian pulled the hem of Alexander Gu's shirt. I'm not afraid of toothache when I have my brother here. Okay. I'll let you. Emilian had just gotten the candy man when she spotted me. The moment they saw me, my mind exploded and I just wanted to lift quickly. I rose so hard that I stumbled and nearly fell to the ground. A sudden tightness in my waist kept me from falling. I turned my head and realized it was Liam Xia. He was holding a candy cane in his hand and said something inexplicable. Why did you run here? Let me look for it. The next moment, I was confronted with Alexander Gu's cold and expressionless face. Sister Tong Tong, didn't you say you wouldn't marry little Mr. Xia? Why are you still unclear with him on the street? Does it mean that you are doing this in order to deliberately anger your brother? Emily An's skill at stirring up trouble is as good as ever. With just 2 words, she made Alexander Gu's eyes change when he looked at me. Only this time, he didn't lash out at me, but instead looked at Liam Xia with a cold face. Little Mr. Xia, Catherine Tang no longer has any relationship with General's Manor, and your fiancé is now in Yao. You're entangled with her. Where did you put in Yao? Liam Xia snorted. It's not true that Xia Mansion and General's Manor have a marriage contract, but that's with General's Manor's $1,000, not a wild seed of unknown origin. It's your business if you General's Manor are willing to hold up outsiders. Don't come and trash our Xia Mansion, since General's Manor has thrown Catherine Tang out. The marriage between the Xia and Gu families will be called off. Call it quits. Tomorrow I will go to the capital to report to His Majesty. Liam Xia's words not only shocked Alexander Gu and Emilian, but also confused me. Yesterday, he told me that he was afraid that I would hurt Emilian, and that he would keep me close to him to keep an eye on him. Now he came back in front of me and trampled Emily An's self-respect on the ground. Emilian red eyes, biting her lips. So pitiful. And Yao knows that she is inferior. Not as good as sister is worthy of Xia Xiaogongzi. Since sister and Xia Xiaogongzi are in love, why do you have to say such unpleasant words to trample on me? I won't be here to get in your way. I'll leave the capital this time, and go far away. Alexander Gu frowned tightly, pulling in Yao, who was crying into tears, and holding her in his arms to comfort her. with a gloomy face. He said angrily, "Catherine Tang, apologize to An Yao." I felt ridiculous. From the beginning to the end, did I say a word? Liam Xia's face was a bit ugly. Protecting me behind. What did Catherine Tang do? Apologize to her? Alexander Gu raised his voice. She knows that after the withdrawal, An Yao will be your future wife. But she still shamelessly came to seduce you and let you humiliate An Yao. Shouldn't she apologize? Liam Xia clenched his fists. Emily An will never be my wife. Alexander Gu. Sooner or later, you will regret what you did today. I was pulled away by Liam Xia without looking back at Alexander Gu. It wasn't that I didn't want to turn around, but I didn't have the strength. Another nosebleed escaped and dripped onto Liam Xia's hand. Liam Xia turned around and saw blood all over my shirt. The nosebleed was like rain. It kept falling lower and lower. The people around me looked at me like I was a ghost. I hated that look and kept my head down and kept wiping it with my sleeve. Trying to stop the bleeding, Liam Xia trembled as he held me in his arms and covered me with his body. Don't be afraid. Let's go back to the doctor. Liam Xia. Am I going to die? No, you're not going to die. You're going to be around me for a long, long time. My ears perked up and I was so dizzy I didn't hear the catch in his voice. I don't know why, but I wanted to see Alexander Gu. I wanted to talk to him. I questioned him. Why didn't he believe me? I opened my eyes hard and looked in his direction, only to see him standing where my blood dripped. I passed out again, and woke up again with a broken face to see Alexander Gu in my room. And Liam Xia, who didn't look too good. Also, I had passed out and bled 3 times in 2 days. Probably in his eyes. The blood in my body was running dry. Do you want to eat something first? Liam Xia brought a bowl of flour porridge to me. I hadn't been eating much, but when I smelled the flavor of the flour congee, I had some cravings. Thank you. Alexander Gu sat on the chair without saying a word. I thought he knew about my condition and was feeling guilty, and was just about to open my mouth to comfort. I heard him say, "What's it like for an unmarried girl to live in the house of a bystander every day? You don't want to be ashamed. General's Manor still wants to be ashamed. You'll go back to General's Manor with me today." I suddenly felt no appetite and put the congee aside. Pretending to be joking, Alexander Gu, are you begging me to go back? Catherine Tang. Alexander Gu violently turned his head, a pair of eyes full of hostility. I lowered my eyes and spoke faintly. I told you long ago, there's no way I'm going to be under the same roof as Emily An. Alexander Gu, if you want me to go back, get rid of her. Alexander Gu slapped his hand on the table. Catherine Tang. An Yao doesn't have a home anymore. Are you trying to drive her to death? Drive her to death? I'm not that capable. Father and mother gave me a house outside. She could cut off my money. Let me, at the age of 14, be forced to earn money to support myself. Liam Xia was kind enough to give me things in silver, but she turned around and complained to father and mother, saying that I've been broken up, and that I'm not good enough to be with Liam Xia, even if I wore my lips out. I couldn't get her out of the dirty water. I still couldn't get her out of the way. I couldn't get my hands off the dirty water. Whatever you think. I won't go back if the conversation doesn't go well. Alexander Gu was a bit annoyed. Are you so cheap that you even disregard your body to force Liam Xia to stay away from An Yao? Alexander Gu. Liam Xia obviously didn't expect Alexander Gu to say this. Grabbing his collar. Don't use your dirty mind to figure out what I think. I never said that. As for Emily An, I never wanted to be with her from start to finish. Alexander Gu grimaced. Liam Xia. You'll get An Yao killed. Alexander Gu, get your head out of your ass. You're the one who's going to get killed. I didn't want Liam Xia to continue and interrupted out of the blue. I'm tired. All of you go out. Liam Xia shook off Alexander Gus' collar and dragged him out of the room. I don't know what they said after that, but I know that Alexander Gu didn't come to see me again after that day. Liam Xia told me that he didn't tell Alexander Gu that I was seriously ill. He could see that I wanted to avoid General's manor, and he was willing to help me to keep the secret. And he told me a lot of things. He said that he had fallen in love with me the first time he saw me, but he had never dared to admit his heart. He said that he was looking towards Emmeline because she said that I was having an affair with another man, and he regretted believing her. He said that he was lying when he said that he was afraid that I would hurt In Yao, and that he was afraid that I would be stubborn enough to leave. He said that he wanted to cut out his heart to show me, and didn't want me to spend my last days remembering how bad he was. I wanted to tell Liam Xia that I adored him, even though he hasn't been on my side every time. But he always sent me things when I was set up by Emmeline. I don't blame him. Hearing about Alexander Gu again is that he and Emmeline are getting married. When I heard the news, I just felt incredibly ridiculous. My own brother, actually marrying his own adopted sister, the woman who caused me to spend half my life dicing. Isn't this a big joke? In fact, it was me who was the most ridiculous. The night I learned that father and mother had been killed in battle, Alexander Gu picked me back up at General's manor, and he took a lot of wine and asked me to drink with him. We sat in the yard and drank from glass to glass, Alexander Gu drinking fast and getting drunk fast. He took my hand and choked and begged me, "Tong Tong, you are the only family member I have. Don't leave me." Because of these words, I swallowed all my grievances. I had thought that after that night's drunkenness, the relationship between us could change for the better. But I realized that I had overthought it. He treated me like a stranger. Only occasionally, late at night, he would come to stand in front of my room for a while. Despite this, I was still happy. Until I found out that Alexander Gu went to see Emmeline secretly. I thought it was Alexander Gu who found out that Emmeline was being bad. So he drove her away and took me home. I realized later that it was father and mother who felt ashamed of me and forced Alexander Gu to drive Emmeline away with a letter asking him to take good care of me. Alexander Gu never wanted to accept me. Alexander Gu never wanted to accept me. All he did was to follow his parents' wishes, and the only family member he wanted was Emmeline. Later, I got sick. Then I got sick and slowly got over it, naively thinking that it would be good for Alexander Gu to have Emmeline with him instead of me. In this way, Alexander Gu would not be alone anymore. But all my sincerity became a joke to me. I burst out laughing with a face full of absurdity and angrily threw the slingshot I secretly retrieved. Alexander Gu, I don't owe you. My health was deteriorating every day. By the first few days of Alexander Gus' wedding, it was impossible to even get out of bed. Liam Xia came to see me, and his eyes were filled with sadness. You came. I looked away from him, not wanting him to see me like this. Liam Xia tried to take my hand, but I avoided him. Sorry for the trouble. I knew that the people in Xia Mansion were holding a grudge against Liam Xia for keeping me home. Had gotten into several fights with the family over me. I didn't want him to take the blame for me anymore. Liam Xia, I don't want to be buried in the dirt. When I die you burn me and raise my ashes so that I can see the mountains and rivers. Liam Xia was a bit emotional. Catherine Tang, I forbid you to talk nonsense. You will still be with me for a long, long time. I have already told my mother that I want to take you as my wife. And the bridal attire is ready. You can't be that cruel and leave me alone in the world. I looked up at Liam Xia. I had never seen him so scared. You know I won't marry you. I appreciated your snow job when Emmeline set me up, so I don't ever blame you for being a cold bystander. And I did adore you, but I couldn't betray my suffering self. You owed me a favor back then, and am going to get it back from you now, by scattering my ashes to the wind when I die. The night before Alexander Gus' wedding, He sent word that he would visit me at Sia Mansion. I don't know why. But some strength came out of my body inexplicably. The moonlight was extraordinarily bright tonight. I thought of the first time I entered General's Manor. I had secretly flown to the roof to see the stars and moon. I was so excited that I once again practiced my lightness. Luckily, my body wasn't too slow. I managed to sit on the roof, and by the time Alexander Gu arrived, I had already counted 100 stars. He sat down beside me. I looked at him sideways. The hostility in him seemed much less after months of not seeing him. I've been by his side for 2 years and I haven't seen him as soft as he is now. I envied Emilian. She always made everyone around her love him. I didn't talk to Alexander Gu. When I first realized that I would not live long, I just wanted to hear more of Alexander Gu's voice. And I used to pester him with questions. At the time, I thought it would be better if Alexander Gu scolded me. Now, I no longer want to hear it. Catherine Tang, why have you lost so much weight? Did Liam Xian not take good care of you? After waiting for a long time, Alexander Gu spoke in a hoarse voice. My eyes dropped. It's already late, so just say what you have to say. As if he didn't expect me to be this cold, Alexander Gu's face changed slightly. Tomorrow is my big wedding. You go back to General's Manor. I didn't say anything. I just handed half of the jade pendant to Alexander Gu. Alexander Gu's face huffed. You've made a scene for so long. Haven't you had enough? In the last days, I didn't want to leave with unpleasantness. Before father and mother died, they left their last words. Alexander Gu, take care of Tong-ah. Father and mother wish you all peace. I calmly looked at Alexander Gu and left my last words. I wish you a happy wedding. Take care of yourself, and may you have peace and prosperity in the future. On Alexander Gu's wedding day, I was lying on a cold bed. The noise around me was like a distant echo, penetrating my weakening consciousness. I struggled to open my heavy eyelids, trying to draw the last ounce of strength from this shell that was about to lose its life. But it was only in vain. My vision began to blur, and I saw the scene of Alexander Gu's wedding, with the red lanterns hanging high in the General's Manor, and the golden letters of congratulations standing out under the candlelight, as if they were a mockery of me. I saw Alexander Gu in his wedding clothes, his face beaming with happiness, holding Emily An's hand. Emilian, who had been trying to get rid of me for half my life by all means, had finally gotten what she wanted and stayed at General's Manor forever. I looked at the ceiling vacantly, a tear slipping from the corner of my eye, gently dripping onto my pillow. The day of Alexander Gu's wedding. I don't know why my heart is not very solid. The figure of Catherine Tang keeps appearing in my mind. There seems to be an invisible knife in the darkness, constantly stabbing my heart. The pain eats away at my bones. This kind of feeling was also there on the day father and mother died in the war. I looked at In Yao, who was walking towards me step by step, and cold sweat kept popping up on my forehead. I subconsciously touched towards my heart, wanting to get the calming incense that Catherine Tang had prepared for me. I didn't hold it firmly, and the calming incense fell to the ground. There was a loud thud. Inside my ears was the sound of guests laughing. The groom is so nervous that he can't even hold things steady. I ignored it, my eyes focusing on the pieces of paper revealed in the debris. After trembling and picking it up, it was a letter written by Catherine Tang. Brother, in the future, when I'm gone, let this vial of calming incense stay with you. Take care of yourself. Let's not be relatives in the next life. My breath stuttered and I nearly fell to the ground for a split second. I went crazy and rushed towards the outside. Emmeline came after me from behind and grabbed my hand. Brother Honk, today is our wedding day. Where are you going? I looked at the wedding clothes she was wearing and listened to her call me brother in the tone of Catherine Tang when she first entered the mansion. It only felt incredibly disgusting. She climbed into my bed despite her shame. How could she still call out the word brother with a clear conscience? I shook off her hand. Get lost. I ran to Sia Mansion and Liam Sia blocked my way as if he had expected me to show up. Where's Catherine Tang? Liam Sia's face huffed as he punched towards me. How do you have the face to ask her? I was out of control and my whole body fell to the ground. Liam Sia, however, wasn't going to let me go and mounted me and punched me a few more times. I switched hands like crazy and grabbed his collar and questioned. I asked you where Catherine Tang is. She's dead. Liam Sia pushes me off of him and coldly tells me the truth. I couldn't believe it, but the dense details were annihilating me like a tidal wave. No, you're bullshitting me. Make her come out to me. I wanted to see Catherine Tang with my own eyes, but Liam Sia pulled me back. Catherine Tang's last wish was to never see you again. I was stunned. What did you say? Liam Sia coldly repeated what he just said again. Alexander Gu. Who are you putting on this face for now? She was on the verge of death and you left her to sewage ditch. Do you still deserve to be her brother? Her greatest regret was returning to General's Manor and recognizing you all as family. You don't believe in her, so why did you take her back? You guys are the ones who gave her all the suffering she's endured. So who are you to come and see her? My body swayed. A mouthful of blood sprayed on the ground, and I planted myself on the ground. My wedding became a joke in the capital, and Emilian was locked up in my mansion, unable to leave the room without my order after Catherine Tang left. I always dreamed. After Catherine Tang left, I always had dreams. I dreamt that she climbed a tree for a baby bird that fell in her second month in the mansion. I dreamt that she jumped into the lake to fish for prized koi and secretly roasted them for dinner. I dreamed that before I woke up, she dragged me to ride a horse and called me brother in a delicate voice. In her dreams, she was vivid and bright, like an uninhibited bird, filling the entire General's Manor with laughter. In fact, she wasn't like this when she first joined the house. At that time, her father was in charge of the case of Catherine Tang's adoptive father, who accidentally killed a soldier. The reason was that the soldier had robbed a woman, and he had acted courageously, but he killed him by mistake. According to the law, a murderer pays for his life, and he should be beheaded. Catherine Tang felt wronged, and remembered my father's grudge, and like a hedgehog, she stabbed him, but fortunately, she didn't hurt him. How big is the crime of patricide? Even the emperor was alarmed. He decreed that he wanted to punish Catherine Tang severely. But my father exchanged the tiger talisman for peace. Mother also nearly died for her. That's why I don't like her. I think she's not as good as the gentle Emilian. Somehow Catherine Tang opens up her heart and starts to accept father and mother, and the house gradually becomes harmonious. I was also attracted to her without realizing it. When she hurt Emilian for the first time, I thought, Catherine Tang didn't mean it. We neglected her too much. I wanted to be twice as nice to her. At this time, I realized that Liam Sia's eyes changed when he looked at Catherine Tang. I panicked. Liam Sia and Emilian have been betrothed since childhood. How can he turn his back on Emilian? As if she sensed it, Emilian pulled my arm and asked me, Brother, didn't you say that even if Sister Otango comes back, you still like me the most? Facing in Yao's questioning, I couldn't say anything. Until Catherine Tang hurt in Yao again and again. I began to disbelieve Catherine Tang. Until father and mother died in the war. A suicide note made the relationship between Catherine Tang and me close again. I don't know why father and mother asked me to send in Yao away and bring Catherine Tang back. I did it anyway, but I always had a grudge against her in my heart. I felt that she had forced Emilian away, and that she was evil to the core. She seemed to know this and began to curry favor with me. I suffered from insomnia because of father and mother's deaths, and occasionally I would get very manic. She would go through medical books and make me calming incense to calm my nerves. And when I would forget to eat because I was practicing kung fu, she would bring me hot soup and rice after I finished practicing kung fu. My cold heart gradually melted. Suddenly, one day, she stopped doing that. She even questioned me why I only trusted Emilian and not her. I found it baffling and blurted out, "You would have taken her place." Catherine Tang stopped talking. Later, Liam Xia asked me to marry Catherine Tang, as the emperor was suspicious of the Gu family, and the Xia family would be able to protect the Gu family. Moreover, Liam Xia was already fond of Catherine Tang, so I agreed. I didn't expect Catherine Tang to refuse. I got angry and said, "Catherine Tang, you can't object to this. If you don't marry, then get out of the house and never come back." I didn't realize that she really never came back. Even in death, she didn't want to go back to General's Manor. That day, Liam Xia asked me, "You don't believe in her. Why did you bring her back to General's Manor?" I had never thought that Catherine Tang was stubborn, and she would never admit to anything she didn't do. She couldn't do anything to hurt Emilian. But I'm afraid to admit it. I couldn't accept the fact that we were wronging Catherine Tang. How can I face the fact that we treated our adopted sister better than our biological sister? How can I make amends when I face it? Just like when I saw Catherine Tang's body was weakening day by day, and she had so many nosebleeds, Liam Xia said that it was nothing serious, and that she would be fine after a few days of rest. I covered my eyes and believed it. In fact, before I knew that Catherine Tang had died, I realized that I had done wrong. When Emilian shamelessly climbed into my bed and made a big fuss, forcing me to marry her, I knew that father and mother and I were wrong. We were terribly wrong. I also finally realized why father and mother told me to kick Emilian out before she died. I'm afraid they realized this too and wanted me to try my best to make it up to Catherine Tang. Too bad I didn't take my chances. And hard to paralyze myself. Don't want to admit the fault. I went to Xia Mansion to see Catherine Tang. I wanted to get her back. I wanted to apologize. I saw her sitting under the old acacia tree playing chess with Liam Xia. The girl who used to know nothing but fun had somehow become proficient in arts and literature. I suddenly thought of the words I scolded her with. Dongsher knitting the brows. Even if you learn to be like Yin Yao, there's no way we'll accept you. I didn't dare to look at her any further and fled in a panic. Catherine Tang once said to me, "Only those who have wronged you will know how wronged you are." The day before the wedding, I went to see Catherine Tang. I wanted to tell her that I wanted to take her back to General's Manor, but when I saw her take out the jade pendant, I felt that I was unworthy again. I spoke against my will. I watched the light in her eyes shatter a little. I stabbed my sister once again. And Yao came to me again. I shaved her out of the genealogy and didn't want her to use the Gu family name. She knelt in front of me and cried with pear blossoms. "Honed brother, I was wrong. Please let me go. Don't send me to brothel again." I looked at her mouth as she opened and closed it, calling me brother, and fumed, slapping him across the face. "Don't call me brother. I'm disgusted. My Gu family treats you well. How can you bear to frame her repeatedly? Didn't you slander her for losing her innocence? Then you can taste the pain she suffered. Catherine Tang died that desperate. I have to pay her back for all the wrongs she suffered." Anyao said Catherine Tang pushed her down the stairs and hurt her leg. "So I broke her leg." And Yao accused Catherine Tang of poisoning her voice. "It'll make her speechless." And Yao slandered Catherine Tang for seducing a man. I had her stripped naked and hung in public humiliation at city gates. And only after all this did I dare to go to Liam Xia and beg him to tell me where my sister is buried. Even if she doesn't want to see me in this life or the next. Liam Xia told me that Catherine Tang's wish in life was to see all the mountains and rivers after her death. I realized that my life was irreparable. and Liam Xie took me to the burial mound he had given to Catherine Tang. It says Catherine Tang's grave, and next to it is a small wooden plaque for his beloved wife. Liam Xie stroked his beloved wife's plaque and chattered to me a lot. "I'm not qualified to write this. Tang didn't want to marry me when she was alive. Even if I found out that everything was a setup by An Yao and told Uncle and Aunt Gu about it, there's no way to make up for it. Perhaps she did blame me for meddling. After all, the year she was separated from the Gu family, although she had a hard time, it was her freest days. It was me who ruined it all." Favoring me also blamed her for not wanting to marry me and said a lot of hard words. "Alexander Gu, don't come back in the future. The last thing Tong Tong wanted to see before she died was you." After leaving Xie Mansion, I went to father and mother's grave. Next to it was the closed grave I had erected for Catherine Tang. I used my hands to plow away the soil bit by bit. I refused to stop even though I was drenched in blood. Tang didn't want to see me or have anything to do with the Gu family. I took out her clothes inside and lay down in it, as if I could still see Tong sitting beside me smiling lightly and waving at me. On the 6th day of the 7th month of the Yangon year, Alexander Gu was found dead in the tomb of the Gu family, still holding the coral bracelet with fox embroidery.